Welcome to the latest edition of the Final Whistle podcast with myself, Kirk Ritchie, Head of Marketing and Partnerships here at Surrey FA, and podcasting legend Ivan.
Hello Kirk, you okay?
Very good, mate, very good. Today we have a very special guest and a man who has a long and successful footballing CV, including being a UEFA Pro licence coach, FA affiliate tutor, a mentor, a consultant, and current president of the Surrey Football Coaches Association, where he replaced one of the greatest of all time, Sir Bobby Robson. Welcome, Keith Boanas. Did I miss anything to get out?
No, not really, no. Thanks very much. Great pleasure to be here.
No, brilliant. Sorry about the huge amounts of traffic and roadworks and stuff like that. We really appreciate you coming here. So
standard in this day and age.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, tell me about it. So we get straight into the questions, and I'll let Ivan kick off.
Yeah. So if we start with coaching and your involvement in the game, can you tell us what attracted you to become a coach when you first started out?
I've told this story many times. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird one in a way. I was a player in a team at school, and I'd always been touted by my teachers at school to try and get into teaching. They'd always said you've got natural leadership skills and natural teaching skills. And the team that I played in at school, we stayed together when we left school, and they needed a coach and a manager, and I was only 18 at the time, and it was like, well, you're the oldest, you're it. And that's how it started. But where the real bug took place is that I moved down to London in 1986. I'd actually retired from playing, and I got a pub down near the Old Kent Road, and a group of lads in there wanted to kick about, and we said we'd go over a kick about over in Burgess Park in South London, and we started having a kick about, and then they started talking about how can we form a team to play out of the pub. Obviously it attracted me because I was
always helps, doesn't it?
and it brings in punters and trade. But Millwall advertised the old preliminary badge in the South London press, and it was only £12. So I thought, got to give that a go. I went and did that, and it was at Southwark Park on the old style AstroTurf, and it was a 5-day course then. And I did that, thoroughly enjoyed it. My tutors were Les Reed, who was later to become technical director of the FA, and a guy called Nicky Milo, who was had been Charlton's technical director, academy director, QPR, Millwall. And they kind of both inspired me, and I did really well on the course. And they said you're quite natural at this, and you know, what are your ambitions? I said, well, until I've done this, I wasn't even aware of it. And Les encouraged me to apply to do the A licence, because there wasn't no UEFA then. There wasn't a B licence, there wasn't anything in between. So I applied and I got on it, and I got on the Pro version, which was in around 1992 or 1990. And I was the only non-pro on the course, with some real big names of the past, like Tony Curry and Jerry Armstrong, Alan Kennedy, Alan Irvine, Peter Reid. And obviously I was a little bit nervous. I don't use other terminologies, but when they all pulled in, and I was in a battered old transit van, and they all pulled in their Mercs. It was a bit of squeaky bum time, but I didn't get it on that course. I didn't pass, but I went back 2 years later and did it again on what was then a mixture of pro and semi-pro coaches, and I passed that time and flew it. And I had Les as my tutor on that course as well then, and I got through it. And not long after that I started tutoring, initially for Kent FA, and then later on I became county coach for Surrey, which I was for over 20 years.
I think that is a great story. Thanks for opening up. And I think when you've got the opportunity, I guess, to do coaching badges with those type of players, and Ivan's going to go and Google them because he's too young to actually know who they are.
Some might be before, yeah.
But it's, you mentioned players like Peter Reid and stuff like that, proper old school football players who then went on and got into management. Yeah. Was there anyone that, this isn't one of the questions, I'd ad-libbing now. Was there anyone that you looked at when you were doing that first one in 1990 and gone, Jesus, what a player we would have been?
what a player.
Yeah, because they all played the game, didn't
Yeah,
they?
you could tell every one of them. I mean, I had to coach Peter Reid in my first session. I had a shooting session and he skied one over the bar.
Shooting wasn't his.
No, but he could. But obviously, I've kind of hesitated to say something, and the tutors observing me have kind of gone, Keith, you know, he's an England international. You know, you still got to affect him. So I had to stop it and I went, Peter, could you? What do you think? It was this guide and discovery and mixing stuff up. What do you think you might have? Give us the ball, Keith. Give us the ball. And he set it down, smashed it in the bottom corner. And how's that? Oh, yeah. And to be fair to him, every session I did, because you used to have to ask people to volunteer to take part. He was one of the first ones that stepped forward every time.
Yeah. And
I had some good chats with him away from the sessions as well, in the bar in the evening and at dinner and stuff like that. And he was a great person for me to feed off. And Jerry Armstrong was another one. They were very kind of open. And a lot of the pros were, none of them were closed off or aloof. I mean, I obviously watched, and what I did on that course is I kind of had a feeling I was in above my head. Yeah. But I watched intently and I listened to what was going on and I watched the way they acted. Yeah. And of course there was stuff that you wouldn't think, like what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. But from a football point of view, I learned so much from that course. Hence, the next time I went, I actually found it much easier.
Better prepared,
and I was kind of one of the seniors, like the experienced ones in the group. And again, there was a lot of strong characters. Neil Bath was on that course, who's obviously gone on to a massive career. And I unfortunately just left Chelsea, but the likes of Bob Dowie and lots of non-league went on to non-league success as well. So
Brilliant. But it must be quite nerve-wracking though when you turn up and you're seeing all these players as well that you watch on TV and like.
Listen, I told you it was squeaky bum time. And the first session I had to take, I literally froze. Yeah. I had an injury as well. It was the first problem I had with my knee, and so I couldn't participate as much as I wanted. Yeah. And you want to go in and kind of show off and play in the sessions with them. Of course, they're just taking the mick out of you, technically. But no, it was a great learning curve, and it's a long time ago now. But that was kind of the start of the journey. It's been a long journey. You know?
The journey that currently has you president of the Surrey Coaches Association, Surrey Football Coaches Association. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, could you tell us a little bit more about the association and I guess what it aims to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, it started way back in the 60s with my predecessor and a number of other affluent coaches. And in those days, you know, there wasn't aside from the FA that kind of organisation, and they just came together to share ideas and promote the game the way they wanted it to be, and they'd meet on social occasions, they'd meet on training sessions, and just really bounce around methodology and different styles and different ways of coaching, and share it and be prepared to share it with others, and hence it started, and it just carried on from there. And you know, my first experience of it was when I became county coach. I was invited to one of the sessions that used to be down at the old BBC ground, and I was invited to a couple of sessions there, and what had happened, I'd inadvertently passed a lot of the members and a lot of the people that were involved in running it then under Sir Bobby in this area, because Sir Bobby had obviously moved on out of the area, but other people had kept it running, the likes of a guy called Pete Smith and Ian Smith, and then they invited me just to see what it was about, but offered me the chance to go on as what they called a vice president, or asking me to do sessions as well, obviously linked, and I'd passed a lot of them on their prelim badge, which then became the level 2, level 3s, etc. And I kind of became that and got heavily involved with it, and I just saw it as a fantastic way of having the opportunity to watch other people work, learn from other people, networking, camaraderie, building links, and I could see it was a kind of a proud organisation. I'd also been part of the London version as well, and at one point I was involved in both as a member of London. I wasn't kind of significant there, and that was run really well back in the day as well, with the likes of Bob Wilson as a leading member. But there was a kind of a feel about the Surrey one. It was more, almost more passionate. It seemed like there was no politics. It was just a really kind of
For the good of the game.
put together good of the game. Yeah, everyone had the right mentality, and everybody was so responsive and willing to listen, willing to learn, willing to chat, and yeah, every coach who came on board was always there was never any kind of I'm not going to share this. There's a lot of coaches at some levels won't even share a session plan. It was just that openness, and yeah, at one point I think we had over 500 members at its peak, and it's just gone on from there really. And obviously when Sir Bobby sadly passed, I was actually quite shocked when the members came to me and said, would you take over the presidency? I'm thinking, well, there's bigger names on the vice president's list. But because I've been so proactive and I was still county coach at that time, they kind of felt it was a good fit, because it then linked the Surrey FA and the association together. I was the first bond, if you like. And I accepted with pride, and yeah, we had a couple of big events, dinners after that, where we invited the more senior members. You've got Dave Bassett, you've got Roy Hodgson's a vice president, Ray Lew's a vice president, you've got Alan Smith, you've got there's the goalkeeping coach, I should remember his name, I'm angry that I don't, but worked for England. He's been an England goalkeeping coach, and there's so many names on there. You can easily forget how many big people have been involved, and it's just a pride around it. And I became very proud, not to just be the president, but to be a part of what we do, which is sharing knowledge with everybody involved in the game, no matter what level. It could be an A licence, a pro licence, it could be a grassroots coach that's literally just started as a volunteer with no qualifications. We were just an open organisation where everybody was welcome.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
And you've obviously been involved in that for such a long time. Now working fairly closely with Surrey FA, that's Surrey Football Coaches Association, how have you seen the partnership between the two benefit coaches in Surrey as well as those from neighbouring counties as well?
I think that the partnership's always been there. I think it's about maintaining and strengthening it as much as we can, and I'm kind of grateful to all the people who are here and the staff that have been involved over the years for helping us do that. Obviously I've got a passion for the county as well, being a county coach as long as I have. I've got a link that I'll always be proud of with the county itself. The benefit to the coaches in Surrey again is immense, because it just broadens the opportunities, and not everybody can make that session, that meeting, that webinar. So the more that you can provide, as long as it's not, I'm going to say, what's the word, contradictory, I think then let's do it, because, and also there's so many different coaches, different needs of coaches, the diversity of coaches that need different things. If we're providing more and it is different, then they can then pick what they need for what they do. So more things to suit different people's environments, because everybody's environment is so different. You're dealing with so many different players, and in this day and age you're dealing with so many other things as well, different cultures, different religions, and to have that broad knowledge base coming from all angles is a plus factor for this region. And yeah, we are open to coaches. The one thing we are open to as an association is coaches from other counties, and we have got members from London and Sussex and Hampshire and Essex, and all those counties have tried to do something similar, but none of them have been as successful. Certainly with the integration that we've got and the history that we've got, which I think is something we'll always be very, very proud of.
Yeah, and so you should. And I guess coaching, as you just said there, is totally changed over since 1990 to 2024. It has totally changed because there's so many different factors. So where do you think grassroots coaches can improve their skill set?
Exactly through what we're talking about. And again, obviously I'm still delivering the C licence. I'm involved in the B and the A as well as an assessor, but I do a lot of observations, and I'm still going around where I'm observing others, where I mentor as well. I'm still observing, I'm going and observing people, and I see a session in front of me that is okay, that can be tweaked with advice, with help, but then I'm looking at sessions on the pitch next to me and I'm thinking, wow, is this still happening? So, in reality, grassroots coaches can be, again, a diverse group, because you can have an experienced grassroots coach and you can have a brand new grassroots coach who's just come in as a parent, or just come out of university and decided I want to do this, but haven't had the experience or the teaching. They're basically winging it based on what they think they know. And it doesn't mean that that can be bad, it can still be good. But in general, there are important things missing. And, you know, again, still seeing things like long bus queues for shooting, kids running around a cricket square, a cricket field to warm up, you know, in lines of 20. These are things I've seen in recent weeks. And it's scary, and hearing some of the things that are being shouted out on touchlines, so we do go and observe games as well, it's still happening, and not just parents, it's the coaches still as well. So there's still a massive need for ongoing education. It's like when we had the old charter standard stuff, excuse me, I don't know what that is now, but you can never police it because, again, there's such a turnover. These coaches that you've influenced and affected then all of a sudden decide they're not going to coach anymore for whatever reason. It could be life. And then somebody else has come in without that knowledge and experience. And again, that's what we try and provide. And that's why we're open to people that aren't qualified. And then I encourage them to qualify. I was recently in a position with Crystal Palace as a coach development manager, and Helen will know that I designed a course that was kind of almost a taster for the level 1, level 2, and I designed a taster for the level 3, which was a 10-hour and 12-hour course, which wasn't certificated by the FA, but Palace gave them an attendance certificate. But that was a real kind of an insight to try and get people hooked into, again, into coaching methodology and styles and different ways of coaching, and why you would coach certain age groups, etc., certain ways, and the things that are good and poor practice. And again, you know, we can do safeguarding qualifications, we can do other qualifications, but we can't police it. So the way that we continually put that across and maintain through the association and through the other CPD work that the county are doing, that's why it has to continue, because you've got to reinforce it. Some people need reminding, and again, you're then affecting the newer ones. The key is to get the ones that you know that you've affected positively, to get them to become you in a way, to get that information out to the grassroots coaches that might be coming under their wing, if you like, or under their observation, and not just ignore it. So the guys I've gone to watch, I actually say to them, have you ever said anything to that coach? Have you ever mentioned to that coach anything? No, scared to, you know, because you're going to get confrontation. That shouldn't be like that. So it's kind of, there's still so much work needs doing, but it's got to be continuous and consistent.
I don't think it will ever stop either, as you say. It's, you know, I mean, you've got old school. I mean, I'm 43, and the way that I got coached was I was a goalkeeper, and it was very much you got shouted at, and because that's what happened back in the day. You had parents. You didn't have these people who were going on to coaching courses. You literally just had one of the dads who stepped up because they wanted to run the team. Because you didn't have to do your badges, you didn't have to do your first aid, and you just, as I say, you just got shouted at. And then fast forward where we're at now, and I take my daughter, and my daughter plays and my son plays, and my daughter plays for a boys team. She's quite good, and I fingers crossed she's going to be my pension. But she's so she's been trained by a brilliant company called Elite Development Coaching over in Crawley, because we're over that way.
Yeah, I know.
And the sessions are brilliant, the coaches that they've got are brilliant, and it's superb. She then went to try out for a girls' team, which was being run by a parent, and she'd gone from kind of professional coaching, because that's what they did, to a dad who did a 20-minute rondo for a warm-up. And she walked over to me and was like, this isn't training.
This isn't it, yeah.
And then she, straight away, her impact and her thought process is, this is negative, this is going to be negative for my game. And then that's when you have to explain that some people are just doing this so their son and daughter can play football.
Yeah, they're volunteers.
But get your basics. I mean, there are non-negotiables, there are fundamentals, there are pillars that, as a coach, you need to live by. You need to have your standards.
I think a lot of that will be down to the clubs as well. I think, you know, if it's an independent team that's set up, they've kind of got more of an excuse. But if they're a team that's part of a club with X amount of teams, 20 to 30 or 40 teams of different age groups, you'd like to think the club has standards that are minimal. And I'll quote one that I know just won your award, which is Catering Pumas. You know, I've had a lot to do with them in the last few years. They actually ran my courses, so their guy Jamie put all their coaches on my courses, as well as what they were doing anyway.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully, well, you can see by what they've done, there's been a positive impact. And again, it comes from above sometimes on the demand that the people in charge are putting on. Again, one of these clubs I recently watched was in Kent, and their guy that I coached went back to one of their senior people, and he actually did call me and said, "Oh look, I've heard this, I'm a bit disappointed, would you be prepared to come in and do a workshop for us?" Which yes, and that's something I can do independently, or something that we as the association will do independently. Again, you know, it can't always be a set in stone county organised one or an association organised one, but one thing I've always been willing to do, if I'm asked, is try and go and help somebody.
Yeah.
So, you know, I will arrange to go and do that at some point, even if it's just a little classroom workshop to start with, just to say, look, it's some good practice, it's some poor practice.
Yeah.
And again, you don't want to always quote from the hymn book. You don't want it to always be from the technical book, because sometimes that's too much for people that are starting out.
Yeah.
So, through my experience of nearly 40 odd years, 40 plus years, I can actually generalise, and I can actually almost know what everybody's been through, because I started at grassroots level, and I can relate to everything that they're facing, because I've been there, seen it, done it, worn the t-shirt.
Yeah.
So I've got an answer for most questions. It might always be the perfect answer, but there isn't many that I won't have an answer for, and if I don't know it, I'll say, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
I'll always go and find an answer. But yeah, I think Goalkeepers Union, obviously my wife was England goalkeeper, so I saw how she was coached when I first met her, by a really nice guy, but wasn't the goalkeeping coach, and the difference between that and then when she went to work with Dean Kiley's coach at Charlton, the difference there probably improved her quality by a good, she'll say 80%.
Yeah.
And the best playing years of her life for England and Charlton. So being in the right environment and having the right coach, again, do they need to have the piece of paper that says they're qualified? Some people say we don't need it. And let's not mention any names. But, you know, you take what you want from that, and I would argue to the wall and back that if you do a qualification, you will learn something that will benefit you. It might not be everything on the course that's for you, but you will take something away that will mean something to you and that you can use, no matter what level it is. There'll be something that sticks in your head that I need to do that.
Yeah.
That's the right thing to do. So, you know, for people to custard pie the qualifications, and also I've been involved in it from delivering the old prelim right the way through, you know, to being part of the A licence structure as an assessor. I've worked on the A licence and the pro licence in other countries, and I've worked delivering coaching courses in other countries as well, Eastern Europe and Asia. The game's not rocket science, but it's about how you deliver it and the people on it, making sure that they're receptive and that they're there wanting to learn something.
Yeah.
There's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be, well, I don't want to do it that way. Like you're saying about the way you were coaching. When I was run up and down mountains, you know, when I first played, I was literally, that's why I've got no knees now. I used to have to run up and down massive hills with somebody on my back. But
oh, the good old days, eh?
But, you know, again, sometimes it is about what fits, and everything moves on.
Yeah.
But the game itself, terminologies change, but the game doesn't. You know, and the biggest change is terminologies. It's not football itself. It's the terminologies. Yes, rule changes affect game day, but if you're talking about actually coaching and trying to improve players technically and tactically, that hasn't changed drastically. The terminologies have changed and can be confusing sometimes. And that's why you've got to be very conscious of who you're teaching as a coach educator or a mentor, who's sitting in front of you. Find out what they know. Don't go in there and start saying this and this. Find out as quick as you can what they do know. And then you can build on that. And if it's stuff that they shouldn't be doing, then you can start drip feeding in what they should. You know, people underestimate the skills of coach education as well in a sense, and I like to think you get better at it as you get older, But again, there's a lot of young coach educators coming into the program that need to build on that experience. In the old days, I used to have to mirror coach educators before I was allowed to deliver. And there's a little bit thrown into the deep end going on at the moment, which I think can be intimidating. And you get these mixed messages, and some of the courses, someone will go on that course and get told this way, and someone will go on that course and get told another way. The FA are now trying strongly to bring that together and make sure that we're all, again, giving the right information out. But there's also a plus factor, and the way I've understood it is that we are still allowed to use our experience. And like I said to you before, the key thing is know your audience. You might not know them well enough before you get there, but get to know them quickly and find out what they need. Because it will be diverse. So you can't just say, this is the way. You're showing them templates, you're talking about ways of, but I try really hard to get to know, certainly with my cohorts, their needs individually. So I've got a cohort right now on a C licence, one's coaching men, one's coaching girls, one's coaching under 10 boys, one's coaching under 14 girls. They're all different. So the skill set required for everything is important, but needed. It's needed to be pushed. And again, the association, the county here, I'm going to say again, I'll always be proud of what we've done over the years. Certainly, you've said it already, I'm over 20 odd years involved around this county. Although I live in Kent now, this is still kind of close to my heart.
That's great. And I think, as you said, you've been involved in so many different levels and seen so many different sides of the game. Kind of brings me on to the next question of, regardless of the level of the qualification and experience as a coach, what are the three kind of most key attributes that you think a coach needs, if that is such a thing, as it is such a generalised question?
I don't want to use really simple cliches, but you've got passion. I'm extremely passionate about the game, and the game has cost me things in my life, and sacrifices. So be prepared to make sacrifices if you're passionate about what you're doing. And the other buzzword that I use a lot is resilience. How you can define resilience is in different ways, but when I'm describing stuff to people, I use a picture of a roller coaster. Coaching journey is a roller coaster. Life's a roller coaster. The coaching journey definitely is. There are so many ups and downs, so you've got to be prepared for that. And we do this profile of a good coach, but stay open to learning, stay humble and stay open to learning. I'm 65 now. I can still go and watch a C licence coach, a B licence coach, and see a session that I really like and that I might not have thought of. And humble enough to say, love that session, can I nick it?
And so much of it is learning, isn't it?
You're going to nick it anyway. But,
you feel better about asking.
We're kind of all Robin Hoods, you're going to take from the rich and give to the but it's just don't ever stop learning. I think, and that's the same message you give to players.
Well, it's the same message you give to life, isn't it? The moment that you think you know everything, you might as well shut up shop and go, that's it, I'm done.
And again, if you go to any of the sessions run by the county, by us, and you've got coaches there, I'm a pro licence, and people go, well, what do you need to come to this for? Well, I went to one of the coaching exchange ones down at Southampton with Hampshire FA a few weeks back, and I'm watching coaches that are the same qualification as me or less, but I'm watching their sessions. And I'm not standing there criticising, I'm standing there thinking, I like that, I might not do that, I'll nick that. Kopi was with me, she was watching a goalkeeping session, she was going, well, I like the way he does that. That's what you do. And it's the same as I said, you take what you think you want from it. And you can be critical, if you like, by saying I wouldn't do it that way, but you're not going to insult the coach by going to them, because they're doing that for a reason. And where they work, that might work. So it might not work where you're going to go and work, but what you do is you look at it and you look, well, I'd tweak that, I'd adapt that. And adaptation is another key attribute. And again, when we ran an all-day event here with the association, we ran an all-day event with Fulham. I used something from a movie that I love, and it was Adapt, Improvise and Overcome. Yeah. And it was from one of my favourite movies. But that's what we've got to do. Yeah, that's what we've got to do.
No, I love that. You know, as a coach myself, those three things are so key. The resilient one as well. We've just gone from under 12s to under 13s, and we've been successful. That success shines a spotlight on my teams and my players, and then better teams shine a light on a JPL. And as a coach, I've done my job.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken a player. I've liked to think that I've embedded a little bit of my knowledge, my passion, my drive. They're the ones that are taking it out there and going and doing it. And then if these bigger clubs are saying, come and play for me in a JPL or whatever, then
it's a compliment to you.
Yeah, it breaks my heart because I've got to rebuild again. But it's that whole job done. What's next? Who else can I influence? Who else can I develop?
Of course, and in development football, that is key. You know, I mean, again, I've worked in all those areas. I've worked at centre of excellence level. I worked when I worked abroad. I had to build the game from the bottom up. But even players, even senior players, when I worked in Estonia, weren't anywhere close to the levels. But I managed to develop some of those to a level where they went and got scholarships in the US, and one of them has actually stayed out there since that in early about 2012. She's gone through her scholarship. She's now head coach at Maine University in Boston. That would have been an unheard of possibility for an Estonian female footballer.
Yeah.
So those are my success stories, and there's lots of them out there. And player-wise, as you're saying, I even say to players I'm working with now, you know, obviously I'm working with a club that unfortunately got relegated at the end of the season. I took over when they were in that position, but I believed I could save them, but didn't. But obviously I lost some players.
Yeah.
But I've said to every single player, you know, if you can go back up to the division above or even higher than that, you go with my blessing.
Yeah.
Just do it in the right way.
Yeah.
You know, don't tell me you're staying and then change your mind, which was happened unfortunately recently with one. But be honest.
Yeah.
And again, that's another word to kick in. You've got to be honest with yourself, and the one thing I'm really hot on it, and even when I'm doing the courses now, is that people understand what that self-reflection means.
Yeah.
You know, we use that terminology, hot reflection, and then the overview reflection after we've given feedback. Some people don't quite get what that means.
Mm-hmm.
I asked somebody for a hot reflection the other day, sent me a book. I'm like, by the time I read it, I was cold.
Yeah.
But also sent it 2 days late. So that hot reflection is what you're thinking on the way home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was rubbish. I thought that went well today.
Yeah.
So I did the session last night, and I was really pleased with it. On the way home, thinking, yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
It was obviously a pre-season session, which included running and some periodisation work, 3v3s, and then finished with something else. That all worked. The work ethic from the players was excellent. I was buzzing. I was like, phone my other staff. I had a good session tonight. Put it on the players' page. We've got a WhatsApp group. A great session. Well done.
Yeah. It is amazing though, as a coach, when you do a session and everything works and everything ticks and the players get it and they understand your instructions, and which leads great into my next question is, as I said, I'm a coach. You know, I get frustrated sometimes when they buzz and they do it in training and it's perfect, and then get to the game and it's like they've totally forgotten what we've worked on. So as a coach with as I said, a brilliant CV, any tips on how I can get it a bit easier and a bit better? Because I get the repetition, but sometimes there's something missing, and obviously someone with a massive experience as yourself is any top tips for a level 1 coach from West Sussex?
Repetition isn't really the key. It's setting up a part of your training session as close as you possibly can, which is difficult, to mirror what you think is going to happen at the weekend. So if you're going on to the higher level courses, we do a lot of phases of play and 10v10 and what we'd call scenario work. That would obviously be based on the fact that we might have the luxury of analysis, so you know about your opponent, you know this. But then you also get that angle of, well, let them worry about us. Yeah. So how much are you actually putting into the structure of your coaching session, how you intend to play? I'm not saying you're not. So if you are, and that's going really well in the session, then it's not happening in game day. There's two ways of looking at that. It means they're not retaining the information for whatever reason from the session. So can you potentially send out some reinforcements closer to the game, even if it's some diagrams or even video your training session, or permission for kids obviously,
Yeah.
but even video the training session, send that out maybe the night before, just reinforce it. If you think it's not happening in the game, you've noticed that, try and get some video footage of your games and show it back to them and ask why it's not getting fitting in there. But there's a reality to this, and I kind of, people will argue with me about this that maybe listen to this, but in the first half of a game, you really are relying on your players being able to recognise what's working and what's not working. You want to be able to develop them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about game understanding and game management. And people say game management's at the end of the game when you're 1-0 up. But game management fits in at any point in the game. So the first half, you can be on the touchline shouting stuff out, giving out instructions. I'd almost guarantee you 80% of the players are not listening to you.
Yeah.
It's going in and out, but they're focusing so much within the game, in their mindset, that they can hear this voice, but they don't. So they're trying to problem solve in their heads. What am I doing wrong? What should I do? So you can't really affect it until half time at best, and it might be on Sunday. Team on coaching, we played Ipswich in a friendly. And I started out with my formation, not knowing what they were going to do, and they went 2-0 up, and it was recognised by me and my staff. It's because of the formation. So at half time we changed our formation, and we kept it a 0-0 until 90+1, and they scored a goal from the corner. We hit the bar and we hit the post. Mm-hmm. So they're above us in standard wise, and so I was really pleased with that. We recognised that. Obviously in a league game we've lost the game, so. I was pleased. If it was a league game, I wouldn't be pleased. But that's when you need to get the work done. But a lot of it's to do with visualisation. The more you can get visualisation out there, again, even if it is diagrams, if you've got design a little playbook that shows them these patterns that you want them to play and how you want them to play. It sounds complicated, but it's not. No. You keep it simple. Don't use too many words. Yeah. There's no substitute for pictures. Yeah. There just isn't. And if you do a presentation, again, and I know because of something that's happened to somebody I know recently, presentation with lots of words on it, people don't want to read it.
They don't read it, do they?
They'll look at a graphic, they'll look at a picture that you can describe what's going on. Yeah. So the more you can use that, the better effect you'll have. But that little one about just sending a little reminder out the night before on a WhatsApp group or whatever you can use, I think would have an impact. Yeah. But bear in mind you are still at development phase, so if they're getting it wrong in the first half, as long as you can recognise why and then get your points in, the right points in at half time, not just kind of go off or why are we doing this. But even in training, just ask them, why do you think that happened at the weekend? What is it? Did you understand your role? Give them little kind of definitions, individual definitions about what you want from them in their roles, and let them have a look at that. And again, use pictures, use video if you can get it, and just show them those pictures.
Yeah, we use video, and it's such a good tool. And my coach, who's a brilliant coach, we got him an iPad for one of the Christmas presents, so straight away he downloaded a load of coaching apps, and he's there and using technology. And I think that's what you need to do as well. Is
you're always going to go through phases where the players are struggling with understanding. Yeah. As they're going through the different age groups. Again, bear in mind, you might have that age group, but it's clichéing, but they're developing at different speeds in their mind, in their body. So some of those things that are happening might be related to individual players, and it's affecting the team. So again, knowing your individual players and what stage they're at, again, can help you solve those problems in a sense, because you might need to give some attention to a few individual players that's affecting what's going on in your game. And again, it just emphasises, again, get to know the individuals.
Yeah, lovely, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Last one from me quickly. For any coaches listening in or anyone that might be looking to become a coach in the future, how can they go about becoming a member of the association?
We've got the website. You just need to contact the website. Do you want me to say it out, or are you going to put it on here?
Yeah, we'll whack it all on.
Yeah. So we have an active website. We're all over socials. We have what is it? not TikTok, the other one.
Twitter, X, Instagram.
Instagram.
We'll add all of these
we've
into
got
the
Twitter,
description.
We've got
Yeah.
Instagram, we're on Facebook, and they've all got the website address on. If you contact the website, the details of how to join are on there. If you can't find that, I would say in front of you, contact Surrey FA and they'll pass on our details to you, and vice versa. And yeah, everybody's welcome. It's not expensive. You know, at the moment, I think we're charging £15 for a whole year. And every event that we run, you come to free. You've got access to the website, which has got a lot of the sessions uploaded on it as well. And if you're at a club, we do a reduced fee for a club of up to 30 coaches for that fee. And we don't actually count the 30 coaches, so it could be more.
Yeah.
So if you're in charge of a club with multiple teams, more than worth joining. But then your task has got to be to make sure your coaches know what's going on. So it's important that if you join as a club, that whoever's joined us has got access to all the coaches, because what we found is that sometimes a club secretary doesn't pass on the information.
Yeah.
So when we're running events, the coaches say we didn't know about it, even though we put it all over the socials. So if you're at a club and you're going to join, be proactive and make sure your coaches are aware of all the events. As a club, again, we can come to your club and run an event. You know, we've got a lot of senior coaches on our volunteer committee as well, including myself, and if you want a particular individual club event, we'd be more than happy to accommodate that as well.
Great.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. As a coach, I have learned so much in the 50 minutes that we've been speaking, so I can't thank you enough. We spoke about it before when we weren't recording, and I will ask the question. Obviously, we failed in the Euros, which I'm always a big believer in. It's your first attempt in learning, but it seems to be we keep trying to learn. So Gareth's gone. I think he's done a brilliant job and his team, as we discussed earlier. Who would you love to replace Gareth Southgate as England manager?
I need to pause because yeah, I don't know from an English coach version, if it's an English coach, which obviously everybody would prefer, potentially because they feel the Englishman has passion for their country, and I would tend to agree with that. But again, if you utilise the fact that Serena Wiegman's Dutch and what she's done with the English women's team, it still for me is the right person for the job. If you're talking about the names that are being touted out there, the impossible dream would be Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
If you're talking about in reality, I think out of the ones that are being touted around, it would be Eddie Howe. Again, that question's being boded, would he leave Newcastle? It's been talked about a lot while I was coming in on the radio. You know, if you're offered the job, if Newcastle doesn't go well in the next year and he's turned down the England job, would he get the opportunity again? So is the England manager's job the holy grail? From my personal perspective, having applied for national jobs, yes. Nothing would be more prestigious and make you more proud than to manage or play for your country.
Yeah.
But in this day and age of finance and money and everything else, I don't know what people feel.
Yeah.
But certainly, you know, if you listen to certain people, the England job's offered it, you take it.
Yeah.
So if they do offer it to Eddie, I'd say he should say yes.
But you want Jurgen?
Yeah, 100%. I'd go for Jurgen.
I think the thing for me is having a winner at the helm.
It is that, and again, it's what they've said. You know, if you're looking at the Spanish model, because they're obviously talking about Lee Carsley, so the Spanish guys come through their youth team ranks, but he knows all the players. There is that link. That's what Gareth did. He knew the youth players, and so his biggest legacy is the fact that he's helped those youngsters develop into international players. You know, whatever's happened since, you know, whether you want to class it as failure or success or not, there's different ways of looking at that. And I do strongly believe with the thing that Gareth should be involved with the FA now. If he doesn't decide to take a rest and then get back into club management, the FA should employ him and utilise his experience. But we need somebody who's a proven winner. And again, it's got that almost a lack of fear. I think someone like Klopp would have no fear in making decisions or who he might upset. Whereas whether he's honest about it or not, and again I know because I've been in lesser levels, similar situations, if you're always concerned that you're letting people down,
Yeah.
then it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And I think Gareth always had that he felt he would let people down, and that sometimes holds you back. And I don't think someone like Klopp would give a monkeys. He would just go for it, and he knows how to work with those type of players, that level of player, and he's got a different type of drive.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, I just don't see it happening.
No.
So if it's from the list I've seen, it would be Eddie.
Yeah, brilliant. Ivan, agree?
I'd quite like Eddie Howe, to be fair. If it was an English, I know if it was, I'd also probably share that thing with you'd rather it be. I think it's a bit of patriotism, isn't it? But I'd rather, I think of the names mentioned, it would probably be Howe. I think Potter's another one that's been thrown about a fair bit, but has he been out of the game for a bit too long now? And it seems like he's been.
And was he successful? He's not won anything big.
I think it is. Yeah. How's probably the premier English pick right now, but because I think Klopp, as great of a manager he is, I mean they're also saying about maybe Pep, but I think both of them are a tiny bit unrealistic. Yeah, I think
with Potter, again, great tactician, very very educated coach, very educated, worked wonders overseas with a very small club, so proves he can do that side of things. But it's not just about the head coach either.
Yeah,
it's about what's around them, and that's going to be key. Whichever coach comes in has got to make sure they've got the right background staff, and that again ties into any level, even yourself.
Yeah.
Who are you working alongside? If there's two of you working alongside, what's the relationship like?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to check and challenge each other, etc., etc. And I've got staff wrapped around me now, again voluntarily because they're there because they want to learn from me. But I don't want them to try to look up to me and be scared to ask me questions.
Yeah.
Tell me what you see.
Yeah.
And again, it was one of my staff that saw what was happening to us on Sunday, because I was looking at individual players, and he's come up to me and gone, "Keeper, this is happening in midfield, blah blah blah." Well spotted.
Yeah.
Right, you talk at half time. I stuck him in there, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
And again, it's that process. Management and coaching is I know there's a lot of us at grassroots level, and I did start that when you're the only one. But as you grow and as you move up, you need to build, a team around you, people that you can trust, and that's massively key as well. Even if it's parents that you bring on board, make sure they're the right people.
Yeah.
If not, identify leaders in your team.
Yeah.
And get them involved in discussions. Again, that's what we do. We have a leadership group. I know Gareth had that as well. You've got to have players as well that are prepared to come up to you and ask you questions and say things. Obviously, the younger age it's more difficult, but ironically, you'll probably find one or two that aren't.
Yeah. No, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly can't thank you enough. I think it's absolutely been brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to helping push more coaches to you.
Appreciate that.
And I think that from my standpoint here, as a coach and as a member from the Surrey FA, I'm buzzing to sort of see what we can do to develop and grow and get coaches better educated. So from myself, from Ivan, thanks a lot for coming in.
I really do appreciate it as an association. I'm really, really proud of it, and I don't want us to fade out. Others have faded away. This has got such a rich history to it, and so many heroes, if you like, involved in that history, that we can't allow it to kind of disappear. So it's important that we do work together to help sustain it, and it benefits both. So thank you very much.
Cheers.